It's still who that. But who? Being a Saints fan is never. It's not, man. Being a Saints fan is never. Look. Started off the season, thought this team was going to win a division. 10 weeks later, this wasn't the team that I envisioned. Watching the games have been disgusting. DA ain't the answer, and at this point ain't even worth discussing. Can't move the ball, they stay punting. Yeah, it's amazing how this team's sucking. God, please grant this team some D. They gonna need it, cause Dalton been throwing picks and underthrowing his receivers, and my patience is bad. I'm constantly getting mad. I'm thinking about the teams and players they used to have when Breeze surely was clutch and Peyton cooking it up, and the defense was average, but at least they didn't suck. Too many problems, too many false starts, too many injuries to these players. Man, they leaving on cards. Somebody told me we need to go and blow this thing up, but this the life of a Saints fan, a season of bad luck, and I can't believe it. From around the way. Being a Saints fan is never easy. It's not, man. Being a Saints fan is never easy. All we want you to do is what we know you can do. But hey, maybe it's not our year. Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, and yes, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you all so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. Thank you to everybody that's here. Shouts out to everybody that's listening right now. Shouts out to everybody that's in Florida right now, dealing with the Hurricane Nicole. We actually got some rainy weather in the forecast that's going to be for the next couple of days here in South Carolina. But nevertheless, we really do appreciate your time, no matter where you are, wherever you may be. On this edition, we're going to be talking about for a few minutes quarterback Andy Dalton, and we're going to be answering the question, is Andy Dalton on borrowed time? Is it time to pull the plug on the red rifle, right? Is it time to take the shells out of the gun, if you will? Andy Dalton, he has started in 6 games for the New Orleans Saints. He has completed 65% of his passes. He has 10 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He has a quarterback rating of 49. All right. He also a QBR. Yeah, he has a QBR of 49. He has a rating of 93.4. Andy Dalton, to me, at this stage of his career, has been what he is, right? He's a guy that comes in if you need somebody to come in and try to operate your offense until your starting quarterback comes back. The problem is the New Orleans Saints, in their eyes, they don't have a starting quarterback. So Andy Dalton has been playing for the last 6 games. And, you know, there's been some positive things you can say about Andy Dalton. There's been some negative things that you can say about Andy Dalton. But, you know, I just think that a lot of people are, you know, a little bit too hard on Andy Dalton in this regard. I think that some people think that Andy Dalton, because he's been a starter in the league all these years and he's been around for 12 years, that means that, you know, he's supposed to come in and be able to give you upper echelon type talent at the quarterback position. But, you know, Andy Dalton at this stage is not a good quarterback. Andy Dalton has been good at times throughout his career, but for the most part, he's been average. He has always been this guy. You know, some people are upset, you know, man, why he can't perform on primetime television. Well, Andy Dalton has never been able to perform on primetime television. Andy Dalton hasn't won a primetime game since 2014. People are wondering like why, Andy Dalton doesn't really take risk. It's because I've been saying this for the last couple of weeks, and I'm going to continue to say this. Andy Dalton is playing to not lose his job. He's not playing to win. He's playing so he can be out there and, he can continue to play. I just feel like the laid back demeanor of Andy Dalton is not going to win you football games. And I'm having a big problem and a big issue looking at some of the things that Andy Dalton has done. And, the biggest thing that I've been hearing from head coach Dennis Allen is how well Andy Dalton takes care of the football, how Andy Dalton has the offense looking. Well, that's all fine and dandy, but when you're turning the ball over just as much as you said that, Jameis Winston was doing, or you don't want to say it, but everybody kind of knows where you're going with it. When you're seeing him fumbling the football, when you're seeing him not being able to get the team over the hump, you're just wondering to yourself, like, why is he still in there? You have a guy in Jameis Winston who is 27 years old. He's young. He still has his whole NFL career still ahead of him, even though he's been dealing with injuries. He still, can go out there and give you something, because that's exactly what Andy Dalton is giving you, which is something. So I just don't understand it at this point. And I think that we need to start asking the question, rather, is Jameis Winston more hurt than they're trying to lead off, right? If somebody was to get hurt in the game, will we see Jameis Winston come out there? I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if Jameis Winston is cosplaying as a quarterback and they just got him out here. I don't know, just to kind of keep up appearances, maybe to make it seem like, he's, he didn't get benched and they're trying to kind of save face here. I don't know what's going on. But all I know is if Jameis Winston is able to suit up, then I just think that you need to give him opportunity. To me, this should be the last chance that Andy Dalton gets an opportunity at the starting quarterback position. If Andy Dalton leaves a lot to be desired, if Andy Dalton isn't pushing the ball, if Andy Dalton doesn't put forward a performance that's similar to some of his best or above his best, I think that you should just go ahead and just roll with Jameis Winston, because the reality is this, man, you got some issues that are on the offensive line, right? Andy Dalton is pretty much a statue in the pocket, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, so you're probably going to have some issues on the offensive line. You're not going to have enough time to be able to deliver the football. And, we're going to see. We're going to see. But I don't think that Andy Dalton should be a guy going forward. I just think that the way that the Saints are right now, being 3-6, chance to make the playoffs based on the way they've been playing for the last this entire season is slim to none. So you might as well just go and try to see what you can actually have and roll with Jameis Winston, But I understand that you want to roll with Andy Dalton, but man, it yeah, I don't know about that, man. I just don't see anything coming from Andy Dalton. And when you look at his stats and how he's been turning the ball over in games on multiple occasions, like he should have had 2 interceptions. He should have had 2 interceptions on Monday, if you want to be honest. There was one that was called back because of pass interference, and then it was a tip pass. So if you are trying to convince me that the reason why Andy Dalton is starting is because, well, he doesn't turn the ball over, well, you're a liar. It's just that simple. I mean, what are you seeing from this offense from Andy Dalton that you feel like Jameis couldn't give you? I'm just wondering to myself. I mean, I don't get it. None of this pedestrian stuff. None of this, lackadaisical, laid back offense is equating to win. So you might as well put the other guy out there, right? That's all I'm saying. But I'm gonna read some of your comments. It's not gonna be a long show, folks. Because it's raining out here right now, and I'm probably going to try to go ahead and head back closer to the house. It's supposed to get pretty bad later on this afternoon, so going to go ahead and see what you all have to say, and then we're going to go ahead and get up out of here. It says, keep it clean in the chat like DA. Dalton is not a long-term answer. Absolutely not. I hope nobody thinks that. TJ, us moderators do a better job of cleaning up the chat than DA with the team. I agree, man. All that cleaning up he talking about ain't done yet. Exactly, Barbara. I handled it like always. Is that my sniper always ready? What exactly? What was going on? What did the person say? Dalton isn't a short-term solution. You got that right. I've seen enough of Dalton, and I just think, let's see, play Winston or I'm not watching Sunday. I just think that Andy Dalton doesn't give you anything. Like, it's boring. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if the Saints like call for a shot down the field, he's not gonna take it. Right? I mean, he's looking for the least threatening throw. That's just what he's looking for, the least threatening throw. If a guy wide open on the sidelines, right, there's a chance I might throw it to the sidelines and not hit him in the hands. A guy open downfield, I don't know if my arm be able to get down there. Let me check it down. You know, like, he boring. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I understand, like, I don't got no problem with, like, if your offense is boring as long as it's effective, but you're boring and you're not effective. Like, you're not effective, you know, like, it's super boring because what you're doing isn't equating to success. Keep it clean in the chat. Love y'all. Just had to get that off of my chest. Real over rich. I appreciate that, man. We love you too, Elite. We gave away a top 5 pick next year. At some point, we got to rebuild. We need to start a trend. Why is Winston not playing? I don't know, man. I don't know why he's not playing. Well, I do know why he's playing. Not playing. He's dealing with some injuries, and I don't know, man. I just rather you just come out here and say he's dealing with injuries. Like, something is wrong with him right now. You know, like we don't want to risk that. You know, we don't want to risk his career, him being out there. But instead, it's like y'all got him dressed out and have him like he can come in and play at any time. It just, the optics of it looks bad. I don't watch Saint football anymore. That's a joke. What they putting on the field. Well, I'm gonna continue to watch them. I don't care how bad they look. I'm gonna continue to watch the team because I love my football team. I understand how people feel though. You know, looking at this, man, they've turned this football team into a joke. You know, they're an absolute joke right now. And people keep on telling me about injuries this and injuries that. But honestly, man, when the guys that were out there that we needed to play was playing, they still were a joke. You know, like people act like Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry never played this season or something. Like, they still were out there looking like a straight up plum joke. Bad execution, undisciplined play. All 3 phases of the game was bad. Like, I don't know what people are talking about. I don't know what people, you know what I'm saying? I don't understand it. Like, this team has been bad for the entire season, even when they had their stars in the game. I think DA is playing Dalton to save his job. I hope not. He ain't say. If you think Dalton is gonna save your job, then you're more hopeless than I thought. Hit the like button and subscribe to the SOTS. Yeah, man. I appreciate that if y'all did. Hope everybody enjoyed the new joint that we just put out, man. Being a Saints fan ain't easy, it ain't easy. Not this season, at least. It used to be. You don't think Allen hates Winston, do y'all? I don't think he hates him. I just think they never were in love with him in the first place. I was on the NFC South versus NFL on last night. Shouts out to my guys, Sean, Jay, Mike, and DJ. We were talking about that. I said that Jameis Winston was the girl in the back of the room at the Sadie Hawkins dance that didn't have a date. Yeah, y'all ever seen like one of the movies where, the girl who didn't have a date liked the guy, but instead he took the other girl to the dance, and then he turned out the other girl wasn't what for him, and you know what I'm saying? And then he all of a sudden the spotlight flashes in the corner where the girl is, and he looks and sees like I should have had her the whole time. Like that's kind of like it's kind of like how it was or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like that. The Saints' first choice was not Jameis Winston, right? You know, and then when they couldn't get the guy they wanted with Deshaun Watson, they hit Jameis Winston with the "Hey, big head" text or the "You up" text. Like that's what they did. I mean, yeah, man. Y'all know how it go, man. Y'all ever had like somebody that they always talking about somebody they can call in the middle of the night and go by their house. Like that's just like kind of like what it is. Like they knew he was always gonna be there. They knew he was gonna be available. So they hit him with the "Hey, big head" text. And he came back. But I just think they were never in love with this dude. I think that the first line of trouble, they were going to do this anyway. Like they were going to do this anyway. Like the first collection of mistakes that Jameis Winston makes, they was willing to pull a plug. And I feel like if you're going to do that, then you might as well should have let this man go to whatever team he was going to go to. Let him go to Indianapolis, and you try to find, another quarterback and roll with Andy Dalton. But I just think that they never were in love with Jameis Winston in the first place, and I just feel like they wanted Andy to be there the whole time. But they knew how it would look if they didn't let Jameis start, especially since Jameis came off. He was coming off a really good 7-game start before he was injured last year. So all this has something to do with the fact that they couldn't get the person that they wanted. So instead of them not having anybody, they just decided to go with Jameis. Sad but true. Like I said Wednesday, if anybody got an issue with me or Keen Arthur or any of the moderators here, speak now or forever hold your peace. All right, I appreciate it, man. Last week should have been enough. Look, I don't have no problem with anybody, like any of the moderators here. I don't. Some people, they want to say things and they want to try to muddy up the chat, and they want to argue and go back and forth, and they want to try to get in people's heads, and they want to try to cause division among people. But man, that's not what we about here. We're about having like friendly conversations and, talking your talk and stuff like that. But man, it's a family show at the end of the day. I respect every single podcast out there, but if you're trying to hear a bunch of swearing and all that kind of stuff, just not here. You know what I'm saying? If you're trying to do all that, it's not here. And, the moderators that, I appointed for this channel, shouts out to them. They do a good job of that. I want to have a show where my nephew can look at, my niece can look at, and they do. You know what I'm saying? I got a 7-year-old niece, 6-year-old niece. I got an 11-year-old nephew. Man, they watch this show. And I don't want them to have to, cover their ears or, my grandmother who watches this show, my grandfather, they watch this show. So, and I'm not trying to have like that, I'll let like a few light swear words slip, but we're not going to disrespect people. We're not going to talk about folks. We're not going to make people feel bad about themselves. That's just not going to happen here. And if you're doing that, then we rather you go somewhere else with that type of energy. Because it's all about positive vibes here. We're a family at the end of the day. We built this channel one subscriber at a time. And now we created some really good content. So I just ask that everybody respect that. And if you can't, then, there's so many other channels that you can choose from that probably fits what you're trying to do. So that's my thoughts on that. I don't have any problems with the moderators. I mean, most of the time when people have problems with the moderators, it's probably because they out of pocket. So there it is. The truth, we don't know what Winston is right now. How can you say he's that much better? I mean, I don't know if he's much better or not, but if he can play, you might as well let him play. He has more upside at this stage of his career than Andy Dalton does. So I think you should let him go ahead and play. Team is playing soft because Dennis Allen is soft. Attitude reflects leadership. Truth is, he's 100% better pick six thrower. That's for sure. We all know what Winston is, 30 and 30. Well, I mean, you can say the same thing about Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton is not that far behind. Like, how many pick sixes has he had this season? Or close to it. So, I mean, I don't know, man. Like, I get it. But at the end of the day, if I'm having guys, like, it's pretty clear. Like, it's pretty clear that regardless, the New Orleans Saints are going to move on from both of these guys at the end of the season. It's pretty obvious. So if I know this and I got two guys that are average or borderline, borderline below average, depends on the day, I might as well go with the guy that's younger and average. What's the point? What's the difference? Like, if the Saints can put up a whole bunch of yards and it don't equate to anything with Jameis Winston, with Andy Dalton, I might as well just go ahead and go with the young guy. If I'm not going to win and, I'm still putting up numbers in garbage time, like, I'm saying, I just don't. What people saying, nah, keep Jameis on the bench. I don't understand what you're seeing from Dalton to justify that claim. Like, because Dalton is turning the ball over too. Dalton is not making the right throws either. Dalton is about as pedestrian as a person walking on Fifth Avenue. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. I guess it's maybe what was said to you or what you feel like, oh, man, he look at him, he checked it down to Alvin Kamara. Like, okay. The truth, yes, he had one. That's 130 for 30 season, but we don't know what he is in 2022 and beyond. I don't know, man. I'm willing to give guys chances based on, they pass. I'm willing to give Dennis Allen a chance, but you're 3-6. You were 3-6 your first your first season as a coach with the Raiders, the second season as a coach as the Raiders. It's kind of hard for me to just think that you just about to channel your inner Belichick or your inner Bill Parcells or something like that, your inner Don Shula and just win a whole bunch of games. I just don't. I just don't. 9 games and we are who we going to be this season. Yeah, and like I said, man, I get the optimism of people. Like, man, they be hoping and praying like just, man, we just going to rally off a string of wins. I just don't see it. I don't see it, man. I mean, I just don't see it. I don't see a team that wants to fight. They may want to fight, but when I see them out there, they might be like, you might get a game like the Raiders where they flying across the field when they look like the team from 2018. And then this past Monday, they look like the team they've been all season long. So too hot and cold for me, man. Too hot and cold. That's what happens. Excuse me. When you hire a coach based off a relationship instead of a coaching resume, you have way too much speed and talent to be running basic plays. Highway, that's absolutely the truth. The fact that the Saints were arrogant enough to feel that all we have to do is just put Dennis Allen in here and we keep all the same coaching staff and now we're going to be a championship team was just ridiculous. I just think that they completely just forgot, or they did not understand the fact that they had Sean Payton as their head coach. And another thing that I said on the NFC South versus NFL podcast, I said the more Dennis Allen looks inept, the better Sean Payton will look and the more desperate teams will become, because teams are going to be looking at the New Orleans Saints and how they look right now without having Sean Payton on the sidelines, and they're going to say, man, that guy was a really much bigger of an impact than we thought. And it probably would make them desperate enough to want to throw everything that they can at the New Orleans Saints to acquire Sean Payton. So this may not be a bad thing for the New Orleans Saints, because as trash as they looked, this might make a team be more willing to get Sean Payton because they felt like Sean Payton was the real needle mover there. Frank Reich, head coach, Joe Brady, offensive coordinator, would not be mad at that at all. But I ain't going to lie to you, Frank Reich might end up in Carolina. The Saints hit Jameis up with the hey, big head. Exactly. Hit him with the hey, big head text. Winston was not the first choice. Team went after Deshaun Watson and probably Russell Wilson too. Russell Wilson earlier last season and Deshaun Watson in the offseason. TJ, I'm loving that nutty dude from Airplane is in the thumbnail. It was yeah, man, just trying to get just trying to get a little entertainment. You know, there was a couple thumbnails I did. I did Sinclair on from Living Single was on one of them when she was smoking cigarettes. She was threatening Khadijah, who's played by Queen Latifah. She was gonna smoke because I guess her and like Queen Latifah, who played Khadijah, and Ray Jean, who played by Kim Fields, was having a falling out, and Kim Fields moved out. And Sinclair, played by Kim Coles, she was like, I'm gonna start smoking if y'all don't get it together. So they had like this big like touch up in the middle of the living room, and Regine left, and then they just had this scene where, you know, Kim Cole just had all these cigarettes in his mouth, and I don't know why that popped in my head, but it just, you know, showing how stressed out she was about the situation. So it just made me think about how stressful, you know, it has to be for Saints fans, and I think that picture pretty much sums it up. So we just try to keep it as entertaining, man. Like, could be hit and miss from time to time, man, but nevertheless, man, it's all about trying to be, you know, creative here on the State of the Saints, man. But I'm glad you liked it. Have you seen the Buda Baker video? DA would never step up like that. Yeah, I've seen the Buda Baker video. I've seen that. And that's what you need, man. You need leadership like that. But, I mean, Alvin Kamara did the same thing last week. And they came out there and won. But come on, man. My grandfather, shouts out to him. You know, he used to say, like, when he preached, and I'm pretty sure he probably still says this to this day. He says, you shouldn't look for other people to bring your fire. You know what I'm saying? Like, you should bring your own fire. You know what I'm saying? And then y'all bring all y'all fire together. And the next thing you know, you have yourself a barn burner, right? You know, you can't keep on leaning on people with these rah-rah speeches. Like, you got to have that fire within. You got to have that passion within, that energy within, folks. I mean, come on, man. Like, y'all know what I'm talking about here, man. Like, y'all can't expect for me to, like, basically, you know, talk y'all up about the Saints team. Like, y'all have that passion and that fire for the team regardless. You know what I'm saying? Y'all come to the show because y'all enjoy the content, but y'all have that energy. Right? You know what I'm saying? Y'all ain't counting on me to, you know what I'm saying, instill fandom inside of you. No, you already a fan. So, man, how many rah-rah speeches you can give? You know, like it comes a time when a guy has it or he doesn't. And you got to play with that undying, unquenchable fire every single week. And it shouldn't have to take a guy throwing a chair around the locker room or, you know what I'm saying, turning over a water cooler. Like, man, bro, bring your own fire to the barn burner. That's all I'm saying. TJ, why we let quarterback Brett Hundley go? Is it a roster move? Nah, I think they pretty much done with what they needed to do. Probably just, you know, used him for practice squad purposes leading up to Baltimore. I'm glad Jameis didn't take the flight to Indy. He would have ended up like Matt Ryan, and his career would have been done. Good point. Carmichael has to go after the season, rather the team keeps DA or not. DA had to talk him into becoming an OC, and I don't think our offense scares any team anymore. I agree with that. If a guy tells you he doesn't want to do the job, there's so many other young guys out here that as soon as you make the phone call, man, when you want me on this flight? Pete Carmichael, his reluctancy, I think, is the reason why we are in this position right now, because when a guy pretty much checks out on you, he pretty much going to check out, rather it's going to be in the season, in the middle of the season, or he not going to check in at all. So I think they should have went in a different direction. And I think because of that, I think they're in the position that they're in right now. Now, Jameis is that night fighter and last ditch effort tonight. Pretty much. That's pretty much what he has been. Play my boy Famous Jameis. I guess you mean pay my boy Famous Jameis. Somebody give me DA number. Or play my boy. I guess you do mean play my boy. Yeah, I mean, but I don't think that's gonna do anything. The hey big head text analogy was spot on. Relax, Miss Barbara. Let's see. He hasn't gotten a hell of a lot of more respect than he's ever got from Saints Nation. Let's see. I hope he's done. I am glad the Saints aren't the type of organization that will completely blow up a team mid-season. Have some pride in your team and inspire them to fight to the end. Well, I mean, Jim Irsay is a clown and a drunk. I mean, I'm just calling a spade a spade. I don't feel bad about saying this. I mean, it's been well documented. I don't know what his status is right now, but I mean, it's been well documented. Like he tweets random insane things. He says random insane things, and he just impatient. And I just think anytime you have owners like this, it's never a recipe for success. It's a recipe for disaster. And the Indianapolis Colts, they're in some bad shape right now. They're in some bad shape. And I just, I mean, the at this point, I don't care. I just look at the fact that shouts out to Jeff Saturday. I don't got anything. I don't have a problem with Jeff Saturday. Nice guy. But he goes to the podium and he gives like this fiery rah-rah speech. I was inspired by it. So I can see why, like, you'll probably give him a shot. But the point when he was like, I might do a really good job, I might fail at it. But I can tell you one thing, I'm never going to give up. Now, a brother that gets hired by a team, imagine this, right? If he goes to the podium and he says what Jeff Saturday says, do you think that he's keeping his job? The fact that Jim Irsay will hire a guy and he will say it, and he will say this. So, man, it's just the whole playing with house money thing that kind of rubs me the wrong way. Because we all know that coaches don't have these opportunities like that. Like, okay, I might become successful. I might fall flat on my face. Like, huh? But anyway, that's Jim Irsay. So that's why I don't understand like why anybody is like criticizing Frank Reich being fired. And they're saying like, we feel like, and this is something I just feel like we just need to get away from as fans. If a guy gets cut, if a guy gets fired, like we just automatically think they suck, they stink, and they not good enough. And if there's an opportunity for that guy to possibly land with our team, then we just like, oh no, oh no, oh no. But we don't take into the account there are different organizational structures. They might have an owner that's a tyrant, that's always heavily involved, and it may make them frustrated. Did a lot of people know that Frank Reich and Jim Irsay and the GM, they were going back and forth, because Jim Irsay wanted Carson Wentz back. Now, if people want to laugh at Carson Wentz or whatever, but Carson Wentz had 27 touchdowns, 7 picks. That was one of his best seasons since 2017. And, you could actually build on something like that. But Jim Irsay was like, no, we don't want him back. And there was a rift between them in the first place because Frank Reich, tried to defend himself. And of course, you got yourself a billionaire with an ego. He wasn't trying to hear it. So that's why, I am lobbying for a guy like Frank Reich because Frank Reich should have not been fired. If Frank Reich was the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers and he had the type of record he had over 3 seasons, he would not have been fired. If he was the head coach of the Saints, he would not have been fired. So it's just the whole thing about Jim Irsay. Like Jim Irsay is a clown and a drunk. And like I said, he just talks out his behind. And his decision making is terrible. Like he wants to be a Jerry Jones type owner. And I don't know, folks. I just don't know. When I look at coaches like Frank Reich, I'm like, you put him in a Saints organization where Gail Benson gonna leave him alone and allow him to do things his way. And, he'll probably be able to, consult with Mickey Loomis, but Mickey Loomis, for the most part, will allow him to do the things he wants to do to be successful. And he'll give him the pieces to be successful. I guarantee you he'll thrive. It just sometimes, guys fall into like bad spots. It's like with Jimmy Johnson and Jerry Jones. TJ, I keep doing what you're doing. We need more family shows. I'd rather go down with Jameis Winston and Andy Dalton. Steve, thank you so much. You know, man, that's what it's all about here, man. We enjoy this show. It's a family show, and I appreciate those kind words. But yeah, I mean, look, if you're going to fail, let's just go ahead and roll with the young gun. I'm just saying. I mean, what do you have to lose at this point? The Saints took key players for granted and let them walk, thinking they can just plug in anybody, and they blew up in their face. Trail, I'm gonna be honest with you with this one, man. If you know you was gonna have we already knew that the way that Saints signed Jameis Winston, they weren't high on him. So we already knew the first line of trouble, they was going to bench him and they were probably going to go in a different direction. Question. If you're going to go in another direction, you knew this, why would you allow your young defensive players to go? Somebody please answer this question for me. So if you have a young player on your staff, right? I mean, on your team, right? Young players, young defensive players. If you bring in a young quarterback, you're going to need a defense in order for them to be able to learn, you know what I'm saying, and develop, right? Give that quarterback back the ball in order for him to be able to produce and give him more and more opportunities to learn. So why wouldn't you sign a guy like Marcus Williams and CJ Gardner-Johnson and build your defense up? And then you got a guy like Chris Olave. You already paid Michael Thomas. You already paid Alvin Kamara. So, and you're going to have a young quarterback that's probably going to come in that's not going to be, if you draft a quarterback, he's going to be on a rookie deal. So why not build your defense up and sign guys that you know that are ball hawks, that can take the ball away, that can infuse a level of adrenaline and passion and fire in your defense? Why not do that? It just didn't make sense. Like I said, we're in this position right now as a fan base is because Mickey Loomis and the Saints organization were arrogant. Their arrogance got them to this point because they felt like they had, if they keep this coaching staff intact, even though Sean wants to step down, it's still going to equate to success. To me, that's kind of like a slap in the face to Sean Payton because it's like, oh, anybody can do it. Well, as we find out, not everybody can. TJ, do you think having an owner like Gail Benson, who inherited the team, has a football acumen to pressure changes at the coaching and GM level? Not really. That's why they got Lauscher on the team. You know what I'm saying? Lauscher in the organization because Dennis Lauscher is a guy who is almost like he was like Tom Benson's right-hand man, and he kind of appointed Dennis Lauscher to be that guy. And I mean, he understood. Look, Tom Benson understood Gail Benson probably, wasn't, going to be like he was. So that's why he got Dennis Lauscher to do that. So for the things that Gail Benson can't do or, don't really know that much about, that's why they got Dennis Lauscher. So, yeah, Dennis Lauscher will do it. He'll do the honors. So at the end of the day, those guys still going to have to perform. I don't have a problem with Mickey Loomis. I haven't seen too much bad stuff coming from Mickey Loomis. I just think that this is the first year where things kind of blew up in our face, and now it's like, man, Mickey Loomis got us to this point, but I'm not ready to can Mickey Loomis yet. But Dennis Allen can take his behind home, quick, fast, in a hurry. Jameis lost 2 games and Andy lost 4. I don't know how he's doing so much better. He's not. He's not. You telling me the offense moving the ball? Okay. Red zone offense trash. Still turning the ball over, right? So I don't know. It's not like Andy Dalton, as soon as he came in, turnovers was down. Turnover, you was able to get the ball in the end zone, red zone. Nah. I don't see the difference at this point because they both turn the ball over. We went from a young team last year to an old team this year. digging in the crates, trying to find guys to replace Ceedee Deuce and Marcus Williams. Everybody that rejoiced when Jameis got injured early in the season are getting what they asked for in Andy Dalton. Yeah. That's not the point. Nobody is questioning your competence in regards to dealing with rudeness. My statement was in general. Let's see. I hate to do this, but I'm starting to think the Saints don't want a black quarterback. I don't think that's the case. I just think that Jameis just wasn't their guy. I mean, we can't say that, Autumn, because they tried to move heaven and earth to get a black quarterback in Deshaun Watson. So we can't say that. I just think that Jameis was never their choice. Jameis was more of a project for Sean Payton. We all know that Sean Payton loved a project. Sean Payton likes to be the guy like, oh, y'all can do this with him. Watch what I do with him. But you don't have a guy with that expertise on that team anymore. So you can't really afford to, have this risk take on your team and not have somebody that can kind of reel them in like Sean Payton could. And also, when you have a bad record as a head coach and you stink like Dennis Allen has throughout his head coaching career, you can't afford to be, putting your entire coaching life in the hands of a Jameis Winston, So I guess that's probably like what he felt. Sean Payton can make a decision like this and it don't pan out. Nothing can happen because he's Sean freaking Payton. He's a Super Bowl coach. But me, I'm 8-28 as a head coach. And, I gotta get out the starting blocks quick. And if I can't, then everybody going to start looking at that record that I did in Oakland and be like, well, maybe it wasn't the organization. It was him. That was my point, TJ. You basically explained what I meant too. I say that all the time. That man played 3 games hurt and he lost his job. That was a coward move by Dennis Allen, in my opinion. And you're right about the arrogance of the organization made a lot of bad moves. Take a few more, then we're going to get up out of here, folks. Like I said, man, it's about to get pretty bad out here. Winston turnovers weren't that bad, but if you look at the context and not just the overall number. Well, like I said, I mean, all I'm saying is Dalton is doing pretty much the same thing Winston been doing. When you talking about turning the ball over, like the Saints aren't winning. You can have all these empty calorie yards to try to make it look good, but you never were in a game. Like Baltimore beat you 27-13, but it wasn't even that close, right? It wasn't even that close. Like, yeah. So what are we doing? Can't think of another team who rolled with their defensive coordinator after having an all-time coach and was successful. Me neither. Well, yeah. I was gonna say Bill Cowher. I want to say Bill Cowher was on wasn't. Let me check this. Give me a second. Because I want to say Bill Cowher was the defensive coordinator of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then Chuck Noll retired and he replaced him. So I want to make sure that I'm saying this right, folks. No. Okay. Actually, he was with the Kansas City Chiefs before he went to Pittsburgh. Okay. So no, you're absolutely right. I was going to say that, but yeah. Yeah, that's a good one too. Yeah. Yep. Thank you. Yeah. No, it has to be somebody in Pittsburgh. Thank you, Jason. Yeah, that's a good one too. So Bill Cowher. No. Wasn't Mike Tomlin with Minnesota? Wasn't Mike Tomlin with Minnesota, Jason? Let me check that. Let me check that too. Because I wanna say Mike Tomlin. Maybe Mike Tomlin didn't go to Pittsburgh. Nah, he was with Minnesota. He was Minnesota's defensive coordinator before he came to Pittsburgh. So yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, but that's a true statement. I never seen that either. I guess it was just something new. You know what I'm saying? Like that they wanted to do. I mean, usually it's like if a guy branches off, they kind of just go their separate way or whatever like that. They don't like stay with the team. It's not like a coach will step down and then they replace him. You'll see that like with quarterbacks or something like that, like a quarterback retire and then somebody else steps in his place. Like you'll see that, but coaches, no. I mean, I want to say Vince Lombardi had Tom Landry under his coaching tree. You know, Tom Landry became the hat in Dallas. I want to say Bill Walsh, you know what I'm saying, like was under that coaching tree. Of course, he went to San Francisco. So I get what you're saying. Like I ain't never seen no heir apparent type thing like this. You know what I'm saying? Like you got a football monarchy around that thing or something. I I get it. But yeah, that's a good point. I had to think about that one. But yeah, that's a true statement. Yeah, we had Jeff Blake and Aaron Brooks, and they was definitely loyal to Aaron Brooks for far too long. That's because Aaron Brooks gave you something that you ain't have. Like, you know, it was a while since the Saints had like some consistent quarterback play, even though he wasn't consistent in the eyes of the Saints. That was consistent. Taysom is 7-2 as a starter. That is absolutely true, but you know, I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think the ship with with Taysom Hill has sailed. Like I get it, man. I really do. I completely understand how people feel. Taysom Hill, but that ship sailed. I'm sorry. Like it ain't happening. I don't feel like Taysom Hill is the answer. I don't feel like Jameis is the answer. I don't feel like Andy Dalton is the answer. Like I feel like this team and what they want. I'm not saying this. I want to make that clear. I know I just made that statement. I'm just saying I'm speaking in eyes of the organization. I don't feel like Taysom is the answer, Jameis is the answer, Andy is the answer. I think that they going to continue to they're going to move on from that. And it's going to be unfortunate, but unless you're about to bring a coach in that's going to be able to scheme for a guy like Taysom Hill and add him to it, I don't know, you know? I think that I don't know. I'm interested to see how Taysom Hill career going to end up, you know, if somebody else comes in and how they'll be able to utilize him. Because that'll be interesting. Why are we not using Taysom Hill on the offense? Is he injured? I don't know. You know, he may be. You know, he may be injured. And you know how they go. You know they ain't gonna tell you nothing. Carmichael be over there rocking and shaking like a stripper. He's so uncomfortable calling plays he didn't take good notes. I think the injuries are really mounting up for Winston. Yes, he was the Minnesota defensive coordinator by the way of Tampa Bay. Yeah. I remember Tomlin was in Minnesota. Yeah, me too. That was a long recovery. Then he gets injured or hurt again in several places. Tomlin was from the Dungy coaching tree, worked in Tampa too. Tomlin is a product of Dungy. I can believe that. With the way the NFL is now and how it progressed to player safety, is it worth it to hire a DC? Nope. Not in this NFL. I think that you just do better when you have offensive coordinator that turn into head coaches. You know, I mean, that's just the way that the NFL is kind of moving. I mean, you need a good defensive coordinator, but a good defensive coach. Like, it's very rare that you see a guy who specializes in defense team is successful. Probably the only person I can really just think of right off my head is Sean McDermott. You know, Sean McDermott was the defensive coordinator of the Buffalo Bills. I mean, Robert Saleh, the jury is still out on him. You know, like he's improving. But I'm talking about like sustainable success. You've been, you know, winning games over the years. I guess you can say Pete Carroll too. You know, Pete Carroll is like one of those guys as well. But it's very few of them in the NFL right now that had sustainable success. I mean, Vic Fangio got fired, right? You know, like Mike Zimmer, he had some success with Minnesota. I give him that, but he got fired. You know, they just don't last long. You know, like people want offensive innovation. You know, they want to be able to sell something to the fan base. And 3 yards in a cloud of dust in 2022 ain't gonna do it. I mean, it'll satisfy me as long as it wins, but people want to see excitement. People want to see bombs down the field. People want to see 50-50 balls. That's what they want to see. I mean, some people may not like Jameis Winston the way he plays, but man, a lot of people would consider the way that he plays exciting. That big risk, you know what I'm saying? Like, big risk, high reward type mentality that he has. No risk and no biscuit type mentality. Like, people like that. Like, people would love Jameis Winston more, like, if like what he was doing was like equaling touchdowns. And the crazy thing about it is, this may sound silly, but Jameis Winston is basically what Patrick Mahomes is, except Patrick Mahomes does things that works. Right? Like, when he does it, it works. Like, Patrick Mahomes will throw a no-look pass, like over two defenders or something like that. The ball will bounce in the air and Miko Hardman will catch it or something. Like, he does. Like, if you watch Patrick Mahomes, he make reckless throws a lot. But the thing about it is, they work. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you ever seen that cartoon? There was a cartoon, right? And there was like this canary or this mouse or something like that. And this mouse was like doing all type of reckless things. And his cat was just running behind him trying to save him. Like, he'll walk on a skyscraper or something like that. And, he'll walk to the edge about to fall off. And the cat would be like, no, you know what I'm saying? And put a piece of steel in his way so he can walk across it. It's kind of like what it is. Like, yeah, it's like with Patrick Mahomes. It's like if Wile E. Coyote, you remember, like, he'll paint this wall or something like that. He'll make it look like a tunnel, and then and then the road runner will run through it, and then Wile E. Coyote, he'll try to run to it, and he'll smack himself into the wall. That's just kind of like what it is. Like, when Patrick Mahomes does it, it's like it's like it worked, right? It's reckless, but it works. And then when Jameis does it, it's like, something bad happens. Like, so if he didn't have all those mistakes, like, he would be one of the most excited players. Like, people would like have him like front and center on Monday Night Football like they do Lamar and Patrick Mahomes, and be trying to sell him. Like, it's just those mistakes that he make. But Mahomes, basically, I'm telling you, Mahomes, Mahomes like dodge a lot of bullets. Great show, TJ, brother. That's why I always take my break for lunch when you come on. Keep up the great work. Later, you guys enjoy and have a blessed one. Who that? Yeah, man. I appreciate that. And on that note, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here myself, man. Thank y'all so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. Really do appreciate it. I think I had a donation here. Black Preacher Man, thank you very much for $2. Says, wasn't Belichick a defensive coordinator? Yes, he was. He was defensive coordinator. I forgot about him. Thank you, Preacher Man. He was defensive coordinator of the New York Giants. During the time when Bill Parcells was there, when they won a couple Super Bowls back in the late 80s, early 90s. So yeah, you're absolutely right about that. But once again, I appreciate you all's time. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, youtube.com, search The State of the Saints Podcast. We're also available on facebook.com, search The State of the Saints Podcast. Got previous episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor FM. Y'all be safe out there. Once again, my prayers go up to the people in Florida. Be safe out there. And like always, all I got to say is, who dat?